welcome, Mickey. Just show her a little love with your hearts as she gets ready to present to us and get us going. All right,
Thank
go
you so
ahead, Mickey.
much,
Thanks for
Zara.
being here. Hmm.
Thank you so much. And thanks for having me here, Zara. I appreciate that. So today we're going to talk about the professionals you may need for your divorce. But first, where's everyone hailing in from today? If you could put in the chat, would love to see, and it'll give some context for today. Please list your state. And if you want to list your state of mind, that's okay too, the mental state, but please list the physical state. So I get a little bit of an idea where people are kind of coming in from. Okay, California, Nevada. I knew that, Czar. New York, but thanks for putting it in there. Virginia, Kansas, and Illinois. Okay, we've got a
Hey,
few states
Illinois.
here. Okay, what a nice smattering across the United States. I love us that way. And I'm going to round us out by I am a certified divorce coach as well as a family mediator, and I hail from Minnesota. We've had, I think, 3 snows so far in the
Oh
north.
man.
My practice is Great River Mediations to support families through mediation, but I'm also available nationwide to encourage individuals, for courageous individuals who want to survive their divorce as intact as possible, and have someone support their sanity and thinking during their divorce with divorce coaching. So thanks everybody for showing kind of where you're at. That's helpful. So I'd also like to see, and you can just put a heart up or maybe not the hand up, but the heart up at this point. Who's in the midst of a divorce? Who's in the midst of a divorce? Okay, Anthony, thank you. Okay, Danielle. Yeah. Okay, so we got 2 in the midst of a divorce in the room here. Who is in the beginning stages? Welcome, Tim. Who's in the beginning stages? And Anthony, just to let you know, I know you're new, the hand, when it goes up, it doesn't disappear until you put it down. Kind of, I think it kind of works that way. So Kathy, you're in the
Yeah.
beginning stages of divorce. Okay.
No, actually, I'm going on 4.5 years divorce.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
My bottom things were frozen, so sorry.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's been
Okay.
happening a lot. The icons been getting frozen and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, welcome, Vineet. Good to see you here too, as always. Okay. So, and is there anybody in the room that's considering divorce or feel it may be a real possibility for your future? Is anybody in that category? If so, could you just put a heart up? Okay. And I'm going to check chat here. Yeah, it is being recorded. Yeah. It is being recorded. So yeah, that's a good thing to share. I think it does show up that way when you sign in, but this one is being recorded, which is unusual. It doesn't happen in a lot of the rooms, but sometimes in the master classes, they do record those. So thank you so much for Vineet. That probably should be a disclaimer should put out there. I'm not quite sure what they're going to do with it. Do you have any insight on that, Zara?
Yeah, so the master classes are recorded and then they're available where you can listen back to them on Spotify.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's something if you want to, it's a good thing to know here for today. So, okay, so we have 2 people in the midst of their divorce and 1 in a long-term divorce here today. It sounds like nobody is in the part of considering divorce where just feel like maybe it's coming but not quite sure yet. So we're pretty centered that way. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we're talking about some of the divorce professionals that you may need to be a part of your divorce. And I want to just kind of check, and you can either, if you can use the chat, that's a great place to put it. If not, that's okay too. You're welcome to voice. But what are some of the people that you have come across as a part of your divorce, for anybody who's willing to share? And you can put that in the chat. If chat isn't working for you, you can just pop out and say it in voice too. We want you to be able to participate in a way that works for you. So
Yeah.
James, I see your hand up.
Lawyers, but not
Attorney,
so
yeah.
not so many. I wouldn't say good lawyers, but like lawyers who, how can I put this term, who do more of a profit-based type lawyering
Mm,
instead of like
Mm.
true defending.
mm.
Okay.
Okay. So it feels like they're all about the money, or more about the money than they should be. Feels like there. Thank you for sharing that,
Yeah. Also see in the
Anthony.
chat, Anthony says counselors and mediators and attorneys.
There you go. Yeah, those are some of the big ones that come up. And, we all have, at least know that attorneys are often involved in the divorce process. Divorce is a legal process, whether we were legally married or it's a community property state where, you're married that way. The more complicated your situation is, the more you'll probably need an attorney.
Mm.
I think it's a good practice, and I'm sure people are at different levels in this thing, but it's a good practice to pay for an hour or two of an attorney's time up front as a consultation to get informed. If you don't have the resources or are concerned about that, a lot of times attorneys will give a free consult to get to know them as a way to, get clients. But attorneys are often a part of that process because it's a legal process.
Mm.
Okay, so and part of what some of the things that get determined there is what belongs to who, what's going to belong to who. That's the property settlement pieces. It's also, if you have children, how they're going to be provided for, how they're going to be raised in your divorce. It may also involve spousal support, depending on your state. Largely, it's not a given, and anymore it seems like when it is more of a possibility, it's generally 10 years or more that spousal support is a piece that kind of can come into play. And it's not forever quite often. So spousal support has changed a lot. And each state has different laws that affect divorce, of course. There's also so some of the professionals, in addition to lawyers, counselors, and mediators, and there are different kinds of mediators as well. There are some mediators and things that you can set up a whole day and get everything knocked out in a day. Everybody's pretty bloodied from that experience quite often. And there's different kinds of attorneys. So there are collaborative law attorneys, something called that. Has anybody heard of collaborative law attorneys?
I've never
No
heard of
hearts
that.
going up? Okay.
Yeah.
It started here in my good state of Minnesota, but it has spread and is in many states now. This is a attorney. These are attorneys who have kind of agreed to work together more, to be more amicable, and to try to find resolution more. The big sticking point on collaborative law attorneys, they're not necessarily cheaper, but the big sticking point on them is if you're not able to, thank you, Czar, if you're not able to resolve and figure things out for your divorce with your collaborative law attorney and your spouse's collaborative law attorney, then you start all over with new attorneys if you go to court. So it's not necessarily less expensive, and it can be more expensive, starting over being one piece of that. And it's good to interview a number of attorneys to and to understand what it is that's important to you when you talk to them so that you can communicate with them, because they're not going to be able to read your mind about what it is that's most important to you in this. And so different people like divorce coaches and others, maybe a counselor, maybe sometimes your therapist, but that's not generally your therapist's role, can help you get clear about what is important to you in your divorce so that you can convey that to help kind of set the tone and the stage there. So there are lawyers, there are also counselors, whether that's mental health counselors such as therapists or others. There are mediators, as I mentioned, some of which sometimes are employed, with many professionals at the table, sometimes with less, sometimes with attorneys, sometimes without attorneys. These are choices that you get to make as to how you show up to mediation and who you show up with, depending on what kind of support you need to have your best conversation and to, try to work things out. One thing to know about mediation is that whatever is learned new in mediation, because it was mediation only and couldn't be found out otherwise, is supposed to be protected from the court. And also any offers that are made by you or the other party, for settlement are supposed to be protected from being brought back into court, unless, of course, the two of you agree to that settlement or that offer. So in which case, then you're trying to make it, a part of your divorce. So you would have to bring it forward then at that point. Some other people who are important, and welcome, Maury Carmen. Glad to have you here. Some other people who are important in your, who may be important in your divorce, are people having to do with real estate. The home, the marital home, is often the biggest asset for many people that they have. And there's a lot of emotions that run with the marital home quite often. And so this real estate piece can be an important part. And sometimes there may be other professionals there may be a number of professionals that get involved with that. One is, of course, you need to value the marital home. And so I've seen people do that a variety of ways. But the issue in mediation is you have to agree, right? So I've seen people do it via Zillow. I've seen people do it via an assessment, and I've seen people, which is usually free, having a real estate agent do an assessment, or not. I don't know if it's I'm getting the wrong word there, I feel like, but
Appraisal?
Well, the appraisal is usually, there's an appraisal and then there's an MVA. So the MVA is the market value appraisal. No, the appraisal is the one you pay for. At least in my area, that has generally been about $250 for an appraisal. A lot of times you can have a real estate agent do evaluation for you of what's going on, and it's not as in-depth as a market value appraisal. So, and I've seen people do up to two or three, where they've paid for market appraisals. So sometimes people disagree with the real estate agent, right? So, and Anthony says $475 to $500 here to have an appraiser come out. I'm not surprised it's going up with everything. Thank you for sharing that, Anthony. That's good to know, right? And in different areas, it may, come across with a little bit different price, but point as well. So there's some different ways people go about valuing, particularly the marital home, and coming to an agreement on what that is, what that value should be, right? There's also, with dealing with real estate, a lot of times, maybe the home, you may need a real estate agent because maybe the home is going to be refinanced. Maybe one of you is going to keep the home and the other one of you is going to be bought out of the home, right? So that would involve, quite often that involves getting a new loan, refinancing the one spouse, refinancing the loan in their name only, in them only. And that can be tricky because maybe they don't have the income to support doing that, right? They can't get it refinanced in their name only. It's harder now in some ways. Some people are not wanting to do that because the interest rates are higher, right? But a good person to talk to, whether you're trying to prepare, and there are different ways you can, and maybe your credit is not that great, right? I mean, that can happen with people. So a good person to consult with on that is a certified divorce lending provider. That's a CDLP. That's a certified divorce lending provider. And they really can be helpful in getting you prepared and getting you information to know even if one or the other of you would be able to qualify, right, for purchasing the home, right? Because the other person very likely will need to be cashed out so that they can have a place of their own as well, right? And sometimes, if there's another place to go or something or other, maybe that happens with retirement funds or things like that. But it's usually a pretty big chunk to do the house, right? And usually in the house, it'll be based on what is, you'll take the mortgage minus the value of the house minus the mortgage, and then that number that you come out with, the equity in the house, that's the number that would be split in general. So how to do that can get sticky, particularly in different kinds of housing markets and climates. And so a CDLP can be helpful that way too. Welcome, Patty. Then we also have there's a certified divorce real estate expert. That's a certified divorce real estate expert. They're called a CDRE. And there's a directory to find them. It's ilumminstitute.com. And these are people who have gone after this designation and have studied to be able to help people going through divorce navigate getting into their home. And in some ways, it may come across as, I'll see you, Kathy. We'll try to come back to this here in later on. Okay. So hang in here. So that certified divorce real estate expert can help, for example, if maybe a person is using spousal support to qualify, right, for refinancing the home or something or other like that. So, and they'll understand some of the different pieces because you also, there are some unique nuances for people. And one of you may end up selling the house, so you may need somebody for that, in which case both of you might end up buying now or down the road. So a certified divorce real estate expert can be helpful there as well, where they understand a little bit better maybe than someone else. There's also what's called, moving away a little bit from the housing piece, there's also what's called a CDFA, a Certified Divorce Financial Analyst. And I am one of those. And actually, one of the reasons that I actually spiffed up for this call this last fall, going to the annual conference in Texas, where I met a number of these specialists and got to learn more of what they do. So I'm able to share that here today. But a CDFA, a Certified Divorce Financial Analyst, helps you understand how financial decisions you make today will impact your financial future. Many of them work across the United States, all the states. I only do Minnesota here. So, but there are directories where you can look that up to find out who you might need for that. And they are really helpful with A lot of times, sometimes your financial planner may be a CDFA. If you have a financial planner with your spouse, maybe time to look for a different financial planner, because your financial planner cannot really support both of you that great through your divorce. So, so this is an opportunity to make a connection and, get to know someone else, and you can always go back, you'll just have separate accounts at some point. So, but they will be informed about some of the tax implications of the decisions that you make, because you may both have the best intentions of being fair and equitable, or you may think this was a fair settlement, or so on. But depending on and everybody doesn't need them, but depending on your situation, it may actually be an unfair settlement, and it may help one person better than the other. Cash is generally considered to be a better impact, for that person. But there can be different things involved there. They can also help you, a CDFA can also help you with pension evaluations. I do those. I can do those for anybody. They can also do, let me see, there was one more thing I was thinking of that's not coming to my head. Pensions are a big piece of it. So people evaluate pensions incorrectly quite often. So going to professional for a pension evaluation, or getting a professional pension evaluation, can be really important sometimes. Another person that may be involved in your divorce is a certified forensics accountant. I'm hoping that isn't needed for any of you. But they're generally looking for misuse, abuse, proving X, Y, Z, and their designation is a CRFAC, a Certified Forensics Accountant. And they may be digging back years, looking for hidden funds, looking for abuses, looking for, just trying to figure things out. And it can get quite expensive. They charge by the hour, and generally then you're having a whole team that's racking it up pretty quickly for you. So these are usually times when after you get the information that you need, hopefully you decide when to kind of cut the bleed and when to find an agreement that everybody can live with to move forward with your lives quite often. So if you have a small business, if either of you have a small business or larger, you may also employ a business appraiser, an ABV. They're credited in business valuation, and that's a specialty area that has its own discipline and rules and so on for them to kind of pay attention to, and they know things the rest of us don't. You also may involve your insurance agent if spousal support is something that's happening, which doesn't happen as much anymore, but if it is, you may want to have an insurance policy on the person who's receiving may want to have an insurance policy on the person who's paying, just because when that person dies, spousal support ends. It doesn't continue. It doesn't come out of their equity or their assets or anything like that after they pass. And so if you have small children, and let's say it was a stay-at-home dad that's receiving spousal support, he may want to have a insurance policy on the mother, so that he continues to receive support to take care of the children, in the case of, her demise. So there are many people that can be involved in the divorce, and those are a few. I'm wondering if anybody has come across any others that I've missed that have been a part of your divorce, or others you've heard of. Want to open it up?
I know I've never heard of some of these ones that you've mentioned. So never thought I had a very simple divorce. So I was like, wow, wow, it's a lot of
Simple is
information.
good in general. As long as you find out that you haven't made any big mistakes, everybody doesn't need all these people. And I think
Um,
that's an important thing to know, figuring out who you need. Some people do need a quadro specialist. That's another one that I didn't mention. A quadro is a qualified domestic relations order. And this is to
mm,
divide certain retirement assets. And it has to go through the courts. It has to be approved by the plan administrator. And there are special people who do that just because it can be very complicated. Sometimes they aren't, sometimes they are. So, but yeah, if your divorce doesn't have to be complicated, it's a good thing. And, I would wish that on everybody, really. So I'm going to check the chat here while
Can
maybe
you say what
anybody.
the quadro thing was again? How is
Yeah,
it spelled?
sure, Kathy. Oh, I'm echoing. I apologize.
yeah, that's Kathy. Can you mute for a second?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
All right, there we go. It's just getting feedback. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Czar. So I believe Czar put it in the chat here. It's a QDRO, Qualified Domestic Relations Order. And it's something that has to go through the court. I recommend it be drafted and go through the court at the same time as your divorce decree. It kind of saves another court piece because it has to be approved by the court anyway. But first it should be floated by the plan administrator of that particular fund. So if it's a 401k with Fidelity or whatever, you need to, the drafted copy, it's wise to get them to pre-approve it. They can't approve it before the court has released it, but it's best to pre-approve it just because there have been problems where then, it's approved by the court, but it's not approved by the administrator. And then you have to go and get it corrected. And then it's a lot of hullabaloo back and forth. So ideally, if you can, that's considered to be a best practice to submit them together. Did that answer your question? Maybe more? Okay.
I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah.
Okay.
She said yes.
And Kathy, I'm seeing here in the chat, any help for a victim of domestic violence, financial abuse, theft, stole my company, the funds, and closed it. His revenge for me divorcing him. Oof. He is willing to lie, cheat, and steal, whereas I will not lie under oath. Are there any court advocates for someone divorcing a narcissist? How can I address the crimes he's committed against me?
Mm.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about all that. Doesn't it just make everybody sick? Right?
Yeah. Yes, really.
It's just, so these are unfortunately, these are the kind of situations where, it depends. Divorce isn't one of those things where people get a public attorney, right? You have to pay for the professionals in divorce, and it makes it really hard for people who don't have, right? And financial abuse, I guess I'm just going there with it because you mentioned financial abuse, and there are people out there that don't have it either. This is where people like certified forensic accountants get involved. It's also where if there are assets, people, if there's a gambling addiction, certified forensic accountants sometimes get involved. And it can be an argument sometimes for less than 50-50, but you'd have to consult an attorney. I mean, I would just say, how can you address the crimes? Crimes are for court. And it's one reason why in family law, there's a lot of people don't just say it's an imperfect system. People say that, the courts are really made for criminals, and doesn't mean they don't have a place or whatever, but that they really are about finding and blaming, and punishing criminals. And so often in family law, what happens is that attorneys end up trying to criminalize the other parent. And so, because that's what the system is kind of based on, unfortunately. And so haven't talked about yet the professionals that get involved with children, because there are professionals that are also involved with children, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. But Kathy, it's a difficult situation. Obviously, it's been difficult for you. And I just want to recognize that. And the crimes that are done so often, so many of them, you said, well, you aren't saying emotional abuse. It's hard to put a thing on that. Domestic violence, this is why people have protective orders and restraining orders. And I know that myself, when I'm in the mediator hat, I can't help people talk when they have a restraining order or a protection order against them, against the other, until there's like a clause that allows for that. So it's a tough situation. It can be very expensive, and involving attorneys, fighting, all of the research, all of the special expert witnesses brought in. I mean, because there are many people who can act as an expert witness and testify if it goes to hearing in a court, which can be very expensive. So sometimes it's certainly a piece of it is how deep are your pockets, and are people willing to go bankrupt? What point do you call off the dog, so to speak? And at what point do you fight, and what are you fighting for? Sometimes a piece of that decision is, how can I reclaim my peace and move on with my life, instead of, maybe to some degree, maybe if there was some assets there, continuing to fight could destroy or could damage, or it affects, right, what you walk away with in your future. So it's a complicated answer, but sometimes there are also some divorce coaches. I'm not a specialist in domestic violence, but I do know I do know one in particular that comes to my mind. If you'd like to reach out to me, I'd be happy to put you in connection with her. A divorce coach can be a person that can kind of help navigate some of these pieces, and particularly, a specialty area like domestic violence or intimate partner violence. I certainly believe takes a specialty trained coach to help navigate the dynamics, right, that maybe are hidden to other people, but that are very clearly known between maybe the both of you, right, in any communication. So I hope that that's helpful. Yeah.
I see your heart. Yeah.
Okay.
Tough situation.
Yeah. Who has children here? Anybody have children?
I've got 2 older kids, which are not, thank God, his kids. They're his stepkids. But he has already triangulated them against me, and it's bad. But, he's called the police on me, and it wasn't true. And it just, he does illegal things. He's stolen money from me. I mean, he's stolen everything from me. And it's just, and I have nothing. So, but what you said helped, and I do have those resources, and actually we're at the point where I'm going to have to go forward with the forensic accounting and business evaluators, because that's the only way I'm going to get a fair divorce, because he is just lying. And so I have to hope that the truth will set me free. So, and pray.
I'm a firm believer in prayer that it works. So I certainly hope that you receive the guidance that you need, because it's very difficult to navigate these things. And you're not dealing with, I mean, people do go into antics where they're calling the police on one another and involving child protective services and so many other things that really just damage everybody in such really scary ways. These things definitely spiral out of control for so many people. And I think there's genuine, definitely it becomes more distrustful, right? And people start doubting even the other person's faculties and start doubt, and maybe your own sometimes, right? Because it is a traumatic experience, no doubt. But really even, just start believing that the other person sometimes is, this evil parent or whatever. And this miscommunication happens that just further debilitates the situation and damages the ability for, otherwise, parents, showing up for their kids, right? Welcome, Sandra. Glad to have you here. So talking about kids, there are some different people that can get involved with that too. Obviously, the worst case scenario, and it doesn't always have to go there. There are times when it needs to. But it's child protective services. We call it CHIPS here. When they get involved, the child will be taken out of the home. That can be very traumatic on the child. May end up in foster care, may end up with a family member. Really tough situations there. Other people that aren't as tough, but are different, can be a parenting time expediter, a PTE it's called, a parenting time expediter. These are people who you're assigned to, they're assigned to you, your family, and they'll do like interviews and get to know the situation, and then they make decisions for how the parenting will go. And their decisions go before the court. They may or may not consider what you said, but they have a lot of power. They're involved quite often in whenever there is substance abuse. Parenting, yeah, thanks for putting that there, Azar. Whenever there's substance abuse or other kinds of abuse are involved, a lot of times sometimes a parenting time expediter is involved. There's also a person called a parenting coordinator, and a parenting time expediter is someone, for example, that can be ordered by the court that the two of you, and then you'll be billed. You'll have to pay for it. It's not necessarily, you may or may not agree to it, so to speak. So a parenting coordinator is someone who's a little more collaborative, I would say. A PC or parenting coordinator is a person who tries to work with the two of you a little more to work things out. I mean, mediation is another alternative you can go to try to work things out, whether it's for your divorce or after your divorce, to change different parts of it or change the schedule or whatever it might be. But a parenting coordinator is also a person who specializes only in parenting coordination, coordinating the parents and the kids. So there's also sometimes a guardian ad litem that can be involved. And this is someone that is supposed to represent. So the parenting time expediter kind of represents, I would say, in my terms, I'm going to say represents the court. The parenting coordinator tries to coordinate between the two of you and kind of represent the family unit. If that's true, then the guardian ad litem represents the child and the interests of the child. So the guardian ad litem, if they are involved in your divorce or parenting, is someone who will interview the child, people around the child, watch interactions, and is the court's person to figure out what is in the best interest of the child. So that can be an important role that can play. It may not work for you as a parent. They may misinterpret things. They may interpret exactly what needs to be done, and they may actually be helpful to you because they may be able to do things that you can't do, right? Or the two of you can't get together, because of your dynamics. So sometimes the parenting time expediter who will like break the what do you call it when you can't what's that break the tie, right? A parenting time expediter can break the tie, which can be relief to the whole family because you're just so embroiled in this mess that somebody needs to make a decision. Neither of the two of you can make a decision. And so someone on the outside, a parenting time expediter, will make a decision for you. And in very high conflict, hostile cases with parenting, this is the way to break the conundrum, break where you guys are stuck and be able to move forward. Doesn't mean anybody's happy with it, but sometimes just breaking the deadlock, right, can be a relief to everybody of some sort. So I'm going to see here if, let's see here. Anybody have any questions about any of those individuals who get involved in divorce? Sometimes, not every divorce case, thankfully. Anybody care to share some experience they've seen or heard of other people? You can say it's of other people since this is being recorded if you prefer. On any of those people. So we've talked about people in real estate. We specifically talked about the certified divorce lending provider, the certified divorce real estate expert. We talked about the CDFA, the certified divorce financial analyst. We talked about the forensics accountant. We talked about the Quadro specialist, qualified domestic relation order. And thank you so much, Czar, for putting that in the chat. So anybody who wants to look there can see that. He did a great job of that. The business appraiser. Welcome, Claudia. There's also the certified divorce coach. And this is a person who can kind of pull it all together. The American Bar Association recognizes divorce coaching along with mediation and some other ways of resolving disputes. And divorce coaching is a flexible, goal-oriented process to support, motivate, and guide people going through a divorce to help them make the best possible decisions for their future. So a divorce coach can help a person, is an emotional support person generally, right? And can also help people to navigate their divorce and the different things that are coming at them, whether they're being served, which can happen a lot, whether it's dealing with, the financials, getting organized for your divorce, how to communicate with your attorney, and divorce coaches can save people, money in coordinating these people because attorneys quite often charge every 7 minutes for their time, and it's all about billing hours. That's how attorneys are paid. And many of these other professions are paid in the same way. So that's another one of the people. And many people believe that having a divorce coach, has helped their sanity, to navigate these other pieces. and get through in a better position than they might have otherwise. So we have about 10 minutes left. I just wonder what kind of questions or what's coming to people's minds about the people who may or may not get involved in divorce, and when to bring those people in, and just navigating all of that. Any thoughts from the audience?
Got a quiet group today.
I did a lot of talking. I was hoping they caught their breath where I can take a sip here.
Yeah. I see
Claudia,
Claudia has a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Claudia.
Yes, does the mediator have to live in the same state where the divorce is happening?
Yeah, that's a great question, Claudia. Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So my answer is going to be, it depends, which sounds like a legal answer, and it kind of is. And I'm not an attorney. So it can depend. And I would say that it depends. If the court has ordered, so a lot of the courts by state have a state roster. And to be on that roster, I pay an annual fee, and, I do so many continuing education credits. It's a directory or a roster like any other directory. If the court requires you to use someone, they will recommend it, right? Because it's the thing. If your state's court, your county's court, requires you to use someone off of the state roster, then I absolutely recommend that. Florida, I don't believe we had anybody from Florida, but Florida is one of those states. I have done some parenting for Florida, and that couple, it wasn't a problem. They weren't court ordered. They were a never married couple that had a child and wanted to continue to work together and wanted to solidify some things. So they wanted a parenting agreement. They wanted a holiday schedule, and we worked that up for them. And they could file that or not file that. It was up to them, depending on how they felt about it. And one person wanted it filed because, was wanting to solidify some things in their relationship, right? And the new parenting relationship. So I would say it depends. There's no, other than that, there are some nationwide directories and worldwide directories. I'm a transformative mediator, so there's like 150 of us on that, for around the world that have been certified in that. A lot of mediators are not certified. It just depends. And there's different kinds of mediators out there. So I guess I'm going further than you asked, Claudia. But if you're being ordered to go to court, to mediate, you might first check with someone in your area and see how you feel about them. You both need to agree on the mediator, but that can't log jam it forever either. I see your hand up again. Go right ahead, Claudia.
Thank you. No, yeah, I'm in Florida, and
you are?
Yes, and I was willing to find a mediator, so we can, just make some agreements. This is not court mandated. We haven't initiated the process yet, but I thought it would be nice to have a mediator once we start. Yeah.
So you should be able, one place you can start, there is some benefit in some ways. It depends. If you're going for a full divorce, I think that there's some benefit to having the mediator in your state. And the reason why is because that mediator will be more familiar with the laws, how family law works in your state. If you're going for a parenting plan, if you're going for a holiday schedule, it's not as crucial or important to understand all, it just depends on your situation really as to how, I would look for fit, and you might start with the roster for your county, your state, and interview some of those people, and kind of go from there. But if you've heard of somebody that somebody's recommended, definitely interview them, and see how you feel, because it's important. I won't mediate anybody if both people aren't comfortable with me. That's just bottom line, because I'm doing more amicable mediation overall, I'd say. People who want to come out of this as intact as possible, right? Both emotionally and financially and relationally, so that they can co-parent afterward. So there are different kinds of mediators out there, and I specialize also in the financial, but I do the financial only for Minnesota. So because I feel it is, for me, specialized. There are some people who do it for other states as well, though. So I'm not, that's not the answer for everybody out there. I hope that's helpful, Claudia.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. We have 4 minutes left. Does somebody else have a question?
I do. What about someone's IRA and retirement accounts? How do those come into play in divorce? During my marriage, he double dipped in what he put into his IRA, and I was not able to put anything away in savings or retirement. So, will I be able to get half of that in Illinois? Do you know? Half of his, because I wasn't allowed to.
That's a great question. We're echoing again. Okay, so that's a great question. I can tell you in the state of Minnesota how it works. I don't know how it works in your state, and so I don't practice as a CDFA across the whole United States. There are ones who do. You may want to look that up, and there's a directory for CDFAs, and I guess that's where I would encourage you to start. And then you can look at ones for your state. So in Minnesota,
according to my attorney, I will, but it's not in any of the what do you call it? The proposals that he sent. Not proposals, there's a better word for it, settlement offers, which are ridiculous. But so that's it.
So Kathy, your question is, will you get half of the IRA and retirement accounts when he put twice as much in his IRA as you were able to put in yours?
Yeah, I wasn't able to put any into my IRAs because he was putting double the amount into his own throughout our entire marriage of 20 years. So I'm thinking that it should be in the settlement in the divorce decree, and it should be part of the divorce, where it gets, because something that happens in the future isn't going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Once the divorce is final, that's it. I have to receive that then. Don't you think?
Yeah, so the property,
Yeah, according to my attorney, I'm entitled to half of his retirement accounts. But shouldn't that be part of, at the very end of the divorce, that I receive that money into my account?
I'll ask you to move so I don't echo here, Kathy.
There we go.
So in Minnesota, what happens is, I work with people in mediation. I work with them for 3 months, a stretch, and I work pretty intensely with them. And part of disclosure is revealing everything, that's out there on both and all of your entanglements, so to speak, right? During disclosure, you should have, I prepare the balance sheet, we do the balance sheet together. of what are all of your assets, your debts, your encumbrance, your attachments, property wise, and that includes debts. And then from there, we are an equitable distribution state. Every state is not. There are two kinds of states. And it's 50-50 is generally what the court would generally do. But people can agree to something different, and how to split that can be different. So, and so when you're talking about a settlement, an offer can be made to you that's different. If you're a 50-50 state, we'll just go with that. An offer can absolutely be made to you for something different. And an offer can be a 50-50. A offer can be 50-50, B offer can be 50-50, C offer can be 50-50, and they all look different because maybe one was somebody keeping the house and the other person keeping more retirement. Maybe even one of the house offers was that, one person's going to stay in the house until the kids graduate high school. So there's making an offer. A CDFA is a great person to help make offers too. But making an offer is how a property settlement happens. And a property settlement, you're right, once the divorce is done, the property does not get resettled. It's done. That's a decision that you've made that's final, unlike child support that can change in the future, can be changed. So if you're being presented with an offer, you need to evaluate that offer or have someone help you evaluate that offer in context of all of the property, debts and assets and everything else, and decide whether or not this is a good offer for you and what your values are for what's most important to you. Maybe if you're leaving the house and you need to go get another place, maybe you need cash for a down payment. So maybe having cash is more important to you than it is your spouse. Does that answer your question, Kathy?
Yeah, that's good.
Mm-hmm. Right. All right. All right. This has been wonderful. I saw in the chat, Mikki, thank you so much. Thank you so much. As Anthony said, this has been great. And thank you. And then we have Carly that says she missed it. Will it be recorded somewhere else? Yes, Carly, it will be on Spotify, this particular session. But there's also a part 2 next week, right, Mikki?
Yes, next week we'll be talking about deciding to divorce. I'm not sure how many of you that affects here based on our kind of check-in earlier. But we'll be talking about that next week, deciding to divorce. And if any of you, are interested in, finding out a little bit more about a divorce coach, what we do, and whether or not that's something that would be a fit for you, feel free to reach out. Happy to chat about that or help you find, it'll be kind of out of context because there's a whole story background behind each one of you, and it's being written and rewritten as you go too. But happy to help direct you to what might be, what this person does or that person does as well. So thank you so much for having me here tonight. Thank you, Czar.
Thank you so much. Let's show Mikki some love and just appreciation for all that she's laid out for us today. And I really hope that this was helpful for many of you. Please leave a review. Leave a review. Let us know how we're doing with these and let us know how this has helped you and the information was helpful for you. And I guess that's it for today. And we will see you all next week.
Thank you so much for answering all my questions. I'm sorry I talked so much, but thank you.
No, I'm happy to have you here. Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah. All right, folks. See you guys later. Mikki, thank you again so much.
Thank you, Czar. Appreciate it. Take care. See you next time. Have a good weekend, everybody.